YouTube. I am coming at you from a different location. I'm in a hotel room by myself, which is probably something I haven't done in quite a few years. Probably since back when I used to live abroad and travel around a lot more on my own and things. But here I am. I am in Shrewsbury currently. I'm staying opposite Shrewsbury station right now. And I'm here for quite a fun weekend. So on Sunday, my coach Tom is having a client meetup, which I thought, why don't I actually make an effort to go to it and meet some of the other athletes. And then I had a brainwave that one of my clients, Emma, who I've been coaching for at least 6 months now. I've never met her. She's obviously, Shrewsbury's not that close to Leeds, so it's hard for us to actually arrange a meetup. So tomorrow I'll be training legs with Emma, which is cool. It's also pretty cool to just be in a hotel room by myself and have nobody else to worry about. So I'm in Shrewsbury. I've got 4,000 steps to get. So I'm going to go out now and I'm going to pick up some food. I've not got that much left to eat for the day. It's 7:30. I basically just have carbs left for the day, really, and a little bit of protein. So I'll find something I can eat in a hotel, basically. I'm going to pop to Tesco and see what I can find, pending what I find. But yeah, I'm making this video already about, I've talked a lot about PED usage on my Instagram this last few days, and it's kind of been a very, very overwhelming experience for a number of reasons, which I'm going to get into later in the video. But yeah, I'm going to head out now, going to go and find something to eat, and I'm going to chill out, eat, maybe watch some YouTube on my laptop, and then I will get into a little bit more about the actual topic of the video. Good evening, YouTube. So I'm back after a really epic day with my client Emma, and yeah, I've tried to create the best lighting possible because I think I'm finally ready to answer those questions about the PEDS that I put on my Instagram. So I put out an anonymous Q&A on my Instagram, and luckily that particular app saves all the questions, so I've got them all to go through. And I've taken a couple of days to get back into a healthier headspace with it all. I slept well last night, which was fantastic, in the lovely bed behind me. I slept well, which is quite rare for me in a hotel room. Oh, I've just noticed. I brought some pills with me. Not PEDS, just classic. Well, actually, I do take P5P from Strom. Actually, a lot of their products are generally designed for assisted athletes to counteract the effects that come with taking certain anabolic compounds. So P5P, it's there to lower your prolactin levels. So prolactin will be elevated through the use of certain steroids, whether that's Anavar, Primo, whatever. And so last time I got my bloods done, my prolactin was pretty elevated. This leads to you feeling quite down in the dumps because, well, basically Primo, prolactin is almost like the antagonist hormone to dopamine. So when prolactin, I was going to say Primo again then, when prolactin is elevated, dopamine tends to go down, and as we know, dopamine is the happy hormone. So yeah, so I take P5P one daily to bring my prolactin levels down. So after I got my bloods done, I was like, right, I need some P5P. Told my sponsor about it, and they sent me it out. And then I also take, from Team Affinity, you need 3 capsules for a serving. I also take, this is just a period support product, which I personally highly recommend. It's called PM8, and yes, it's there to alleviate period symptoms. So whether that's cramping, whether that's the moods, so I had a call with the guy that created this product, actually. He gave me a ring when he knew that I was using the product. And yeah, he basically explained how, when we feel cramps and pain, the pain receptors in our brain will elevate that. And so if we can calm our mind, which some of the ingredients in this do, that's what then helps the cramps to alleviate. I found that quite interesting. So yeah, I take my 3 a day of these. And that's pretty much it. Anyway, back to it. So yeah, I am basically ready to have a chat about all that. I'll also say as well that on the 28th of October, I'm honoured to have been invited to discuss PED use on a live podcast. That'll be live on Instagram at 3 p.m. and we're going to have a chat through it, and that'll then go on Spotify. So if you're not available at 3 p.m. on the 28th of October, then you'll be able to watch it on Spotify afterwards. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased about that, because it just means that a lot more people will, than you guys who are my audience, a lot more people will be watching about that. But yeah, here I am just stuck in the hotel room. I've got a variety of foods. I've still managed to hit my macros. I've had a lot of bagels. I've had 4 in the space of while I've been here. So there's 1 left in this packet. I've had a lot of pre-cooked chicken, and this is what I'm going to have tonight. I'm going to combine the chicken with this. I've sort of already half had it because I'm pretty hungry. But I'm sort of almost due on my period, but it's been a little bit skewed. Basically, I came off cycle at the start of last month, and that seemed to delay the start of my period. I suppose when you've got sort of synthetic androgens going in and then you pull them out, it just kind of pulls your hormones out of whack a little bit. So from going from having regular periods, it then caused me to be 8 days late. But yeah, I'm gonna just go through them one by one, so it's the most genuine and honest way that I can possibly answer them. And I'm going to just be very careful, because the reason I got really upset the other day on my Instagram was, there was sort of people coming at me and saying that I was encouraging the use of PEDS, or encouraging the use of, basically that was it. So it just upset me, because I'm not trying to do that. What I'm trying to do is make people aware of this huge part of bodybuilding that's, for some reason, that I just still can't get my head round, is unspoken about. And I would have happily spoken about it as and when I made that decision to go assisted back in January. However, as many other females in this industry, because it's not spoken about, you feel a bit mad for talking about it. You feel like this huge, you're going to be judged as such. But anyway, without further ado, I'll get into it, and I'll just try my best, like I said, to be nuanced. But just please bear in mind that this is my personal experience on PEDS. This is my personal opinions about the use of PEDS in bodybuilding, and why it may or may not be needed. It's my opinion. It's not, this is gospel. I'm just someone that you may or may not follow on Instagram. You might have followed me for a while. You might be new to following me. You might have just clicked onto this video because of the title. I'm a nobody, yeah? Don't take my word as gospel. This is just my personal opinions and my personal experience. And because literally nobody else is talking about it, this is probably one of the only opinions you're going to get. But it doesn't mean it's gospel, yeah? Anyway, so thoughts on Anavar. Your post interested me, and I know there's a wide range of steroids, so curious to know your thoughts on Anavar, or if you take something different. My thoughts on Anavar. Anavar is probably one of the most widely used anabolic steroids that's used by most females in a gym. And I've spoken even to my client that I trained with today, Emma, and she said the amount of times that she's been offered Anavar, and she trains in a commercial JD gym. It's something that is widely misused, widely misrepresented, as some kind of, fat burner, this is going to make you look good, whatever. Anavar is a harsh compound, and it will give you, the masculine side effects. You will get a more masculine jaw. I've not heard any women personally that have had voice changes, but that's a potential. Also acne, just all sorts of, masculine side effects that come with it. And on top of that, Anavar's largely taken in tablet form, so it will pass through your liver. And so if you were to get your bloods done after taking Anavar, you would see hugely elevated liver enzymes. It's also going to mess with your kidneys, your lipids. You're going to see some quite detrimental effects on your organs when you take it. So it is dangerous, and especially for extended periods of time. So in terms of my use and my experience, my first cycle, which I did in February this year, I did it for 3 weeks. So Tom wanted me to just trial it, basically. He didn't want me on it for longer than 3 weeks. So 3 weeks on Anavar, for me, when you talk about losing your appetite, there's that, and then there's what I experienced, which was literally like, I don't want food. It's disgusting to me, and it was very hard to eat. I did eat though, because obviously goals, but it was very difficult to eat. Lipids were fucked. My lipid readings were messed, skewed all over the spot, and I just didn't get on with Anavar. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Anavar. So I do take something different. I have done, and unless Tom wants me to take Anavar for whatever reason, I'm good without it, to be fair. But yeah, please don't, if someone asks you in your gym, say, funnily enough, I don't want to take anabolic steroids, mate, so thanks but no thanks. What else have we got that might be about PEDS? Because unfortunately I got loads of other silly questions in between, just about random stuff. So someone said, are you worried about your voice changing? And I said, basically, so my last cycle, so I've done 2 cycles. I think this is something that we need to get clear on, is that females cannot actually, or should not actually, be exposed to anabolics for extended periods of time. Minimal effective dose, minimal effective duration. And that's exactly how Tom works, and that's how all coaches should work. And so you think someone that's assisted is taking stuff all the time, couldn't be further from the truth. So I did that 7-week cycle, February, March time, and then I took 3 full months off, and then I went back on a cycle throughout July and August, so 8 weeks on another compound. I don't necessarily think I need to name the compounds that I take, because sadly enough, people will look into them and people will consider taking them themselves. I've only mentioned Anavar because it was specifically in the question, and I think it's something that people need to understand when they're in the gym and they get offered it, not to take it. So I'm not going to mention anything else that I've taken, just purely out of responsibility for not wanting other people to, unfortunately, as I know people will, go and look into it and think about taking things themselves. But the thing I took, I'll say that it begins with a P, for those of you who know about, steroids and things. And this is a compound, and if you really need to do your research, Meg Sylvester's talked about it openly as well, and said that it made her voice, that's what made her voice break. And obviously over the last few days, I've had various women who are assisted messaging me, and I've heard it as well from another woman saying, yep, this is the compound that made my voice deeper. And so for me, I took a minimal dosage of it. And when I say minimal, I am literally talking 1 shot of a tiny amount per week. And that was absolutely fine. And I didn't feel any way like I did with Anavar. So we got to 8-week mark, and Tom said, let's just double that dose and just try and get the most out of it before we cycle off again for ages. Because like I said, Tom wants you to take long breaks between to sort of recover the damage that you might do, and to restore hormone balance, and to avoid masculine side effects as much as possible. So we doubled that dose. So for week 9, straight away, I felt my voice break. I'm someone that actually enjoys singing. And I went to practice singing, and I couldn't get the high note at all. It was like, so you wouldn't notice it from me talking to you, and I haven't affected my voice in that way, but it's when I try to reach higher notes. And then I noticed it when I was singing, when I was cheering at the Arnolds, when I'm trying to go, whoa, it just breaks immediately. Whoa, it literally like that. So my voice has broken in that sense. And that's what taking these type of anabolic compounds can do, because it's, as Tom has explained it himself, if you go and type, Tom Hames podcast into YouTube, he's been on loads of podcasts, and I've listened to them all pretty much. And I remember him saying, you do a cycle on an anabolic, and it's pretty much like going through puberty. So where a 12-year-old boy his voice would break, that's pretty much what's happening to you and your hormones. And so, yeah, that happened to me. My voice broke. So am I worried about my voice changing? Yes, I am. It was devastating when I couldn't sing anymore. I now can't sing how I enjoy to, and that makes me sad. And it's tough shit, because I've chosen this path now. Bodybuilding means more to me than singing, and it is what it is. But it's something to bear in mind. I've heard of Carly, who's like a physique pro as well. I heard her saying she used to like singing and she can't now. So yeah, that's a side effect, and that's something that you need to be aware of. Anyway, I'm getting thirsty, so bear with. I'm going to go and get a drink and then I'll open the next question up. Next question. What kind of PEDS did you go for? And how high was your dose to start with? Also, what is your thoughts about taking Clenwell on a prep? So I've said about Anavar, obviously, and the other compound. Should I mention the other compound? I'm going to have to, because it'll just come up in other questions. So Primo was the other compound, and that's what I ran in the second cycle. Okay, but I'm not going to talk about dosages. People can message me privately if anyone ever has any doubts about, something that their coach has said. Quite frankly, you shouldn't doubt your coach, but if you do, drop me a line and I'll be able to tell you what's realistic and not. But yeah, I'm not going to say about dosages. Thoughts about taking Clen? Well, I was open about this on a post the other day, and I said about a fat burner. That was the fat burner I was referring to. So thoughts about taking it. My thoughts are that you should avoid it if, just do a longer prep and get in shape. Why did I take Clen? Should I go? Yeah, I'll go into details. Well, as you guys, you might not know, but I did a bikini prep last year, and then I stepped on stage July 4th. I got moved into figure, and all of a sudden I was catapulted into this great pressure to feel like I needed to be more conditioned and all this and that. And obviously, like, when you're dieting, like I did last year from like January to October, the likelihood of you starting to then lose tissue when you've been in a deficit and you're pushing cardio for that long, to get me in shape. And I did a 24-week prep for the bikini. Like I said, longer prep when you haven't got any assistance in place. So I did that 24-week prep. And at the end of it, I was doing 23,000 steps a day. I was on 75 minutes of cardio. I was absolutely battered. And like the thought of having something that would potentially alleviate that and stop me from losing tissue, because that's the point of Clen as well. It's the reason it's banned by natural federations is because it does have anabolic properties, which has been, discovered recently, I should say. In recent research, it's come out. It helps to retain muscle tissue. And so that's why it's banned, because obviously it's not fair if, you're taking that and there's other naturals who are like, potentially not going to come in as full as you when you've managed to hold on to some tissue. The extent to which Clen actually helps you to like build muscle, I'm not going to comment on. I don't feel like I've researched it enough to be able to answer that. But yeah, so my thoughts on taking Clenwell on prep. Avoid it if you can, especially if you want to stay natural. There's other fat burners that you can take that are natural and they're not banned. Just if you've never prepped before, if you've never got on stage before, like, make an effort to do it naturally. I did, and I don't regret that. I'm not going to ramble on, because there's a lot more questions to go through, and I feel like this is just going to become a very, very long video. Do you use these kind of supplements in your peak week too? Well, I've not done an assisted peak week before. Obviously with Clen, we probably pulled it out a few days before stage. I think, in terms of like, Clen is like going to really elevate your heart rate, and obviously it's going to give you a lot of anxiety and things like that. So yeah, bringing it away and just trying to relax before you go into the show and things like that. In terms of like using stuff in peak week, I mean, peak weeks in general, completely different story in terms of like PED use, potentially, depending. There's different things that people add in on a peak week for various reasons. But I'm not gonna go into further details on that. Past my own personal experience, which I haven't yet had. What PEDs have you started on? What's the progression with what you use? Also, who teaches you? I assume Tom will guide and advise, as he is not knowledgeable. So I've said that already now. Anavar and Primo. What's the progression with what you use? So never progressed Anavar. I think the minimal kind of dosage for females, which I don't need to say. If you understand this area of bodybuilding, you'll know. And if you don't understand it, you don't need to know, because you hopefully won't be thinking of even taking it. And then so progression wise, there was never a need to progress. Like I've already said about, we doubled the dosage in the last couple of weeks with Primo. Tom, that's why I hired Tom, because he really, really, really knows his shit. So he doesn't just guide me, he tells me exactly what to take, and I trust him fully. And I think if anyone doesn't fully trust their coach and questions what their coach is asking them to do, then they should consider, moving elsewhere. Do you test every batch you get? Like I said, where I'm getting it from, through the supplier that I've been provided, it's all tested shit coming from a lab. I mean, you'll never truly know. I'm not going to promise and guarantee that my source is like, but you've got to hope for the best, and pretty much you'd know if it wasn't working. Do you think it's necessary as you get older to take for better gains, or does that not come into how you build? I don't think it's necessary to take PEDS unless you have specific competitive goals, and that's my opinion. I'm not saying that's gospel, but that's my opinion, so I'm not going to say anything else on that one, really. You can get really great gains and retain muscle tissue from training hard and eating well, no matter what age you are, whether you're older or younger or anything. Next question. What PEDS are best for women? And please can you talk about side effects honestly, as I feel lots play it down. I know you will say it how it is. Damn right. What PEDS are best for women? Probably no PEDS at all is best for women, unless you want to risk these masculine side effects and all the other health compromising that comes with it. But the reason I've chosen, or Tom chose for me, Primo, was it's like probably the least harsh compound for females. But please don't go looking into it, and please don't go thinking that you should take it. Certainly shouldn't be taking anabolics as a female, like I said, unless your goals are, something like mine are. Side effects, like I said, my voice cracked, and that was a shame. Tom found it quite bizarre as well, considering the lower dosage that we were on and things. But every individual's different. So Tom, no matter how much of an expert he is, no matter how much he knows, no matter how many females he's worked with over like the last decade, he can't predict how each individual's going to respond to everything. Everything you take is on an individual basis, and every reaction to any steroid is individual. So for me, that's the side effect. Obviously, there's like other things, whether you're going to get like more of a defined jaw, body hair in different places. I haven't experienced any of these, by the way. The only thing I said is my voice broke slightly. You can get enlarged down there as a female as well. I'm not going to lie, sometimes I look down just to check, but we're good. But yeah, I think that's pretty much like in terms of side effects. There might be more, but these are the ones that kind of stick in my mind anyway. Part 1 and part 2, someone's put a long one. So fair play for your honesty. There are so many influencers out there who don't admit to being on PEDS when asked on their channel. Some people are new to this game and look up to others. So when you find out they are on PEDS, you feel lied to. I'm not saying they don't train hard, eat well, get optimal sleep, etc. But PEDS do play a part in their overall physique. Oh, and then she's named 2 specific people, so I'm not going to read those names. Just 2 who don't acknowledge they take PEDS and avoid the question completely. I don't get why women lie about it. There's just no need. Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's a tough one. These 2 women in question, one's an IFBB pro, one's an IFBB figure pro, one is a PCA pro, who has a large Instagram and YouTube following, and pretty much almost she is like a reason I feel inspired, to be honest, because I've watched her YouTube videos, and she very much documents her full day in the life, everything I'm eating, the low calories that I'm on, the cardio I'm doing. But then you're not mentioning the elephant in the room. You're not mentioning one of the main factors in your prep. And I don't think it would be difficult to just say, oh yeah, so cardio's been increased, and so have my fat burners, and we've also accelerated the dose of one of the compounds I'm taking. It's not hard to say that and just be a little bit more transparent and just allow people to understand that they're not going to look the way that you do. Or this IFBB pro who's made a phenomenal amount of progress and absolutely ballooned in size since she last competed to now being absolutely massive and getting a pro card. People are looking at that and thinking, oh my God, like, how do they do it? They're so inspirational. I could totally... Why aren't I getting that type of progress? And they are completely naive. I remember when I was new to it all, I didn't know Meg Sylvester was assisted, because why would I? I don't know about it. And so, people like this are giving someone are giving a huge audience a false impression of what can actually be attained in the gym. And another reason I wanted to be more honest about this is because I have clients that say to me, like, I'll never be good enough to get on stage. I'll never get that lean. And I want them to know that, no, don't compare yourself to people that are taking stuff to get into that kind of shape and to make that kind of muscular progression, because there is no comparison. Please be aware that, you're looking at a lot of women who are taking stuff to help them look like that. And there's literally no comparison. Yeah, I'm going to need a drink now after that little rant. But yeah, it's people like that have just literally inspired me, to be honest, because it does annoy me as well. I do find it irresponsible, and I do find it misleading when coaches that take stuff use their own transformation pictures and like what they've achieved in their own stage transformations and stuff. And it's like clients are signing up with you based on your physique, and that's a damn fact, and you can't deny that. That is a damn fact. And they're being inspired because of how you look, and the way that you've achieved that is not a way that they're going to achieve that. They're not going to get the results that you got. And that does annoy me as well. So whoever said this, I'm on the same page as you, and this is why this is one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, because I don't want to be one of those people. Okay, next question. Oh, this is a bit of a dig. I think we can safely say that anyone Tom coaches, he encourages PEDS. Elsie isn't interested in coaching them. Absolutely not. If you're looking at Tom's clients and thinking they're all on PEDS, that's because, as far as I'm aware, they are. I don't know any that aren't, but I might be wrong. That is probably a blanket statement right there. But you have to remember that this is Tom's niche. Tom is an expert at this. This is what Tom is mainly interested in. Like, you listen to any podcast that Tom's ever been on, and he will laugh about the amount of ridiculous cycles he's done to get massive, and he's literally tried everything under the sun, and he's just interested in PEDS. Like, that is where his interest lies. And so the point as well to consider is that Tom doesn't really coach particularly like a lot of bikini athletes, and he's also saying this openly a lot as well. He coaches the larger females, so like your physique and your figure girls, and his aim is to turn people pro or to already be working with pros. And he works with the super heavyweights, the big guys, the heavyweights, the big bodybuilders, and that's the majority of his client base, and that's where his interest lies. That's where his main knowledge and passion is. So the fact is that the majority, I'm not going to say all because that's not going to be true, the majority of Tom's clients are assisted, but he hasn't encouraged that. They've come to him because they know he has the knowledge, and this is literally why I picked Tom, was because I knew he had the knowledge, and I wanted to go assisted, and I wanted someone who could guide me there, and someone that I could trust, and someone that I know has worked with loads of figure athletes to help them get to a bigger size and be competitive, for like an IFBB Pro card or whatever it is. And I know that he's done it several times, and he knows what he's doing in that regard. And I know that he knows how to do this as safely as possible as well. So yeah, people come to Tom because they want help with PEDS. Tom would never take on a natural client and then be like, you should jump on PEDS. That would literally never happen. And any coach who ever asks a client to take anything, that's a huge red flag. Your coach should never, ever ask you or suggest to you that you might be better off taking something. Yeah? I would never ask one of my clients to take anything. I never bring it up. If I get asked, we'll have an open conversation about it, and I'll advise as I think best. But I would never, and no coach should ever, ask or encourage their client to take PEDS, and that is absolutely not what Tom does or ever would do. He just works with a lot of assisted athletes because that's where his main niche is, that's where his knowledge is, that's where his passion is. Hope that answers the question. Right, that's a silly one. I heard Clen is a good fat burner for comps, but it can also be abused. How much do you know how much? Also, thanks for being transparent. I actually have more respect for you. That's really nice. I like that. Thank you. Yeah, obviously it is a good fat burner. Should I say how much? I think personally ceiling dose should be no more than 80. But if your coach is having you on more, I'm sure they've got a rationale for it. But that would be a ceiling dose as far as I'd be concerned personally. Maybe it's a little bit of a red flag potentially if you're being asked to take more than that. But you'll always taper it up. So you'll always start on about 20 and it'll slowly taper up as the prep develops. But yeah, red flag if you're starting to take like 100 and more, I would say. Again, though, everyone's individual, and I'm sure coaches have their reasons, and sometimes extreme measures have to be taken in different prep scenarios. Connor Ben fight off. In any other sport, PEDS are cheating. Why is it okay in bodybuilding? All the health risks aside, are you cheating yourself by taking drugs? As you will never know when you could have naturally achieved. It's harder and takes longer to be natural, but more pride in that. It's not cheating in bodybuilding because, come at me for this, but if you're like at a pro level competing on a pro stage, like, at the Arnold's or like going to the Olympia, like you're not going to be competitive naturally. Particularly, I'm talking the males. Like imagine someone like James Hollingshead. Imagine going against him. You're never going to get there naturally. The size of certain categories in bodybuilding are super physiologically impossible to naturally get to. And I don't think I'm incorrect in saying that. Come at me if you think so, but... So, it's not cheating in bodybuilding. It's just that is the nature of the sport at a certain level. It's like the world's strongest man. Like, you're not going to be the world's strongest man if you haven't taken something because the world's strongest man is lifting a weight that's only been attainable because he's taken things. And so you're never going to be the world's strongest man if you haven't. So it's like that with bodybuilding. Like you can't get to the sizes that are required naturally. And so you're not cheating yourself. You're just wanting to take part in the sport at the highest possible level. And I don't think people maybe have grasped that aren't into bodybuilding, that it is just a part of the sport at a higher level. Emphasis on at a higher level, by the way. Please understand that. That is what I am saying. So for me, you'll never know what you've naturally achieved. For me personally, I'm 28 years old now. I want to compete at a higher level. I've done FitX, I've ticked that box, I've got a British title. Like I can't go further in FitX. I don't suit PCA shape at all. I can't compete with natural federations because I've taken Clen. What do? I want to go for IFBB. How do I get to the size of an IFBB athlete? That would take me several years if I was ever actually going to do that naturally. Potentially it's possible. 5 years maybe. I don't have that time. I don't want to be doing this in, my mid to late 30s, and I'm not going to be competitive probably at that age against, 20 odd year olds. So that's for me. I want to push myself and I want to get to a really incredible size and then be able to compete at a high level whilst I am into this life and whilst I want to do bodybuilding. And so for me, it makes sense. I've shown my natural potential. I've competed naturally. I've shown that from my 2019 prep to my 2021, I put on a shitload of size from a skinny little bikini girl to being a figure champion by having like a subpar off season. I was self-coached for a year. I then was in lockdown and was using 10 kg dumbbells, and I managed to put on a damn good amount of size in that time. So I've shown that I'm naturally quite gifted at putting muscle on, and I know what I can achieve naturally, but I don't want to be doing this. And I want to be stepping on stage regularly as well. I don't want to be waiting years and years and years to get to the size. So it's independent. You can't say this. You can't say someone should just wait years and reach their natural potential. Not everyone has that time. Not everyone wants to spend years and years off stage. People want to enjoy it and do it every couple of years. And yeah, like I said, the nature of bodybuilding is you're not going to be competitive at a higher level. That's not possible. So it's not cheating in bodybuilding. It's just, it's part of it. When you get to a certain level that you are, it's like I say, it's just part of the sport. You've just got to do it to sort of be on a level playing field with the guys at the top, which I would eventually like to get to. And so, yeah, like I said, within the time span that I want to be bodybuilding for, I don't have 10 years to put on that size. Hope that answers the question. What's been your biggest struggle since starting PEDS? Okay, so let me have a look. 1, 2, 3 more questions. So I'm going to ramble for this one a little bit and say that my biggest struggle has been, I don't think, and as well I didn't mention this earlier with side effects, But when you are, you know, taking androgens, like synthetic androgens and things, and you're changing your hormonal profile, it's difficult. And I don't think a lot of guys especially talk about the side effects mentally. And for me as well, one of the reasons that I stopped taking the coil earlier this year, so I hadn't had periods for 4 years due to the coil I was taking. And because, I mean, I agreed with Tom that I would be then starting to take synthetic androgens, for me to also have sort of synthetic estrogen coming in as well from, like, you know, contraception. You end up just like in a hormonal mess. So for me, I've had to take the coil out. I've had to go back to just being natural in terms of my periods and just having periods again. And I've experienced a lot of downs this year. I've been very up and down with my moods, and I've had weeks when I've just felt really down. And whether that's to do with the drugs or not is questionable. But, you know, having periods back and having all those hormones back that I've suppressed for years, you know, that's probably been my biggest struggle. And, you know, there's a part of my brain that worries that I will struggle next year on PrEP when, you know, usage gets elevated of different compounds or whatever. And, you know, there's a part of me that worries that I will struggle mentally. So we'll see. So I would say as well, just to be mindful about that. Most commonly reported side effects, long term. I think I've largely covered this. Like, long term, obviously, like, you are going to get over time like a deeper voice and stuff like that. I reckon that's the most commonly reported one anyway. I don't hear any women talking about anything else, and this is why it would be good to have people more talking about it. I haven't been on it long enough to have long-term side effects, but what I imagine is that people have, you know, changes to their voice, and that's a long-term side effect, isn't it? And the last one, could you explain fat burners more? Are they illegal? How would you be able to get the same result if you wanted to be natural? Longer PrEP? Yep, longer PrEP. If you wanted to do it completely natural, which, like I said, you absolutely should, don't go taking stuff and then being unable to compete naturally ever again, like I did. They're illegal in the UK, so you can't buy them just, you know, in the shops or online or whatever. But yeah, a longer PrEP, naturals, you'll find them that they'd spend a lot longer on PrEP. You know, because if they were to go for like a harsher, more aggressive PrEP, you know, they would start to eat into tissue. So yeah, it's ideal to do a longer PrEP as a natural so that you can kind of just not be as aggressive with it, but you will slowly but surely get there. So, you know, you don't bloody need fat burners, so please don't think about it. You know, I shouldn't have really, but it's too late now for me. So there we go. So yeah. Moral of the story is stay natural, show what you can do, show that you absolutely love bodybuilding, make sure that you, you go, if you are thinking about doing a PrEP, just don't think about drugs, don't rush, you know, like, don't rush it. Like, I'm going into my 3rd competitive season now. Last year, I took a fat burner that I took Clen. I probably shouldn't have done, but here we are. It was done and dusted, and it then meant that I was no longer able to compete naturally, and therefore I've sort of almost been pushed into doing something different now, because my options were getting a little bit slimmer. Other reasons that I just wanted to be assisted is I simply really like the look. I've only ever really looked up to athletes who are assisted in terms of their look and shape and everything, like, you know, your Meg Sylvesters, your Rhea Gales. That's the look that I really admire, and the look that I'm aiming towards. And for me personally, I just want to take things as far as I can in bodybuilding within however many more years I decide to do it for, which I'm not 21, I'm 28, do you know what I mean? I haven't got the rest of my 20s to kind of slowly but surely naturally build that muscle. So I want to sort of crack on at this point. I'm elevating my growth so that I can get back on stage again next year, be competitive at an IFBB level, because like I wouldn't have enough muscle if I just went natural. If I stepped off stage last October and then wanted to compete next year in IFBB, like, it wouldn't happen. Like, I wouldn't have enough muscle to do that. The size of these girls, like, if you haven't seen, I would be nowhere near big enough. So I need to do this right now if I want to compete right now. within the IFBB, which is what I want. So it's my choice, it's my body, it's my journey. I'm going to be sharing it as openly and honestly as I possibly can. And yeah, if you've got any follow-up questions, please ask. I hope that none of this has been too much. I hope that no one feels that there's anything that I shouldn't have shared. I mean, like I say, it's hard to navigate this. No one else is talking about it, so I don't know what's right and what's wrong. Don't bother researching any of the compounds I've talked about. You absolutely don't need them. If you ever were to consider going assisted, I would strongly advise, speaking to someone like Tom or guys from the Physique Collective. You can book consultation calls. That's exactly what I did with Tom. I wasn't originally going to sign up for coaching with him necessarily. I just wanted to talk. And so I booked in a consultation to just ask him and pick his brains about PEDS and stuff. Make sure that your information is being sourced from someone who is proven to have really good knowledge in the area. And other than that, I think that's it, guys. I think I've answered everything as openly as I can. Hopefully I've spread some more awareness around the area, around the topic. There's plenty more that I could say, but those are the questions that I've been asked. So like I said, feel free to ask me anything else. Oh, my voice, I don't think I can last out. And yeah, this just now means that I'll be able to openly document it with you guys. After the whole voice breakage thing, I won't be taking anything, highly unlikely, until at least the new year now, and we're in October now, so I'll be having quite a few months off. Like I said, it's not all this once you're on all the time kind of thing. Certainly not as a female. There's large portions of the year where I'm not taking anything at all. So yeah, it's a lot less than you imagine when you're a female in this game. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I won't be taking anything now for a while. But when I do, I'll document it and I will discuss it further. And when I'm prepping next year, you'll know when I'm accelerating dosages of certain things, and you'll know why my body's looking the way it's looking, and you won't question it. And hopefully you'll start to just be a little bit more aware of potentially other athletes that you're following, whose progress you're dumbfounded by. Perhaps you'll be able to think, actually maybe they're not natural. And yeah, hopefully it's just made you think a little bit more about what does go on a lot in this sport. And yeah, you can be a little bit more in the know now. But apart from that, guys, I really appreciate you for following on this journey, as always. And anyone who has sent me messages of kindness and support over the last few days, it's honestly been an absolute head fuck. I don't want to swear too much, but Jesus Christ, it's been tough. It's been really, really tough on my head. I barely slept. It's been very, very difficult dealing with the sheer amount of messages and questions that I've received, judgments, negativity, everything in between. So it's been a really, really tough. I found it very challenging at times, but I appreciate everyone for supporting me. All I'm trying to do is raise awareness and help people to sort of make more informed decisions and just be a little bit more aware about what goes on and stop comparing themselves to people that can't be compared against. And I hope that maybe some other females will follow suit and we'll all start being a little bit more honest. But yeah, I will see you on Instagram live on the 28th of October, where I'll be discussing it in more detail. And I hope you've really enjoyed this video. It would mean the world to me if you actually liked, just pressing the like button. If you could subscribe if you happen to be new, follow along on one of the very few assisted female preps that you'll ever be able to follow along with, because I'll be prepping next year to get on the IFBB stage. I'm very much excited to take you all along with me. So like, subscribe, tag me on your Instagram if you did watch this. I would really appreciate any story tags just to raise more awareness as well. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Ciao for now.